So hello and welcome to the next video in this tutorial series, and as you already expected, maybe this video will be about countering Tech 2 PD rush, Tech 2 PD turtling and Tech 2 PD pushing and also Tech 3 PD pushing, because it obviously is a big problem. Actually, when I started this tutorial series, I would have never thought that this is a problem, because as I wrote, if you ask people how Tech 2 PD is countered, they actually immediately say mobile missile launchers, at least most of them. But if you look their games, they are doing very bad in countering the Tech 2 PDs, countering the fire bases and countering Tech 2 PD push. So in order to understand how to counter it, and maybe to understand why people fail to counter it, we will analyze a few situations where people really hardcore failed with Tech 2 PDs, and I will explain how to actually counter it, and especially how to not counter it. So what we can see in this position is that the red player just started building a fire base and already has a Tech 1 PD and is about to finish a Tech 2 PD. So in this situation you actually can go for the PDs. You can try to destroy the Tech 2 PD and then overwhelm the enemy commander with your tanks, because the enemy commander of course wasted some mass in building the PDs and upgrading Tech 2. However, if you see that you can't kill the PD right now, you shouldn't actually try it, because if you just zoom out and freeze the game, you can see that there is really no need to push this commander away. Let's have a look at the current situation. The red player established a fire base near the river, that's marked green. The range of the T2 PDs in the fire base are marked red. As you can see, the range covers one max and another max near to the base of grey. What grey is doing now, he is trying to make PDs to save that one mass extractor. But that's actually a bad idea, because he's building his PDs inside of the PD range of the already built fire base. If you are pushed away from a position, you should fall back so that you have enough time to build your own PDs, and never build your own PDs within the range of the already built Tech 2 PDs on the firebase of the enemy. Also, you should remember that there is much open space around the firebase, especially if it is just built in the middle of the map. The grey player could for example send his units to the right and assist the yellow player against the blue and the orange player. I think this is a part of the main problem. If people see fire bases, they think destroy. But the first thing you should actually think about is, how can I avoid it? The second idea is, how can I destroy it? But the first idea should always be, how can I avoid it? And normally that's just by running around the PDs. Another possibility for example would make drops. Or in a team game it could just be fall back, make a few own PDs, because if he's making PDs he won't have a big army, so you can just build like 1 or 2 PDs, cover the area and scout a bit and see if he's switching to tanks at some moment, then you can think about what you're doing then. But in this situation you can just build 2 PDs a bit behind, so that he can't push on with his PDs, and then for example make total airplay. That's of course more like an option in team games than in 1v1 games, but you can try to do that in 1v1 games too. I've picked out another example on how to not do it. In this situation there are 2 fire bases. One of the purple player and one of the grey player. The grey player actually did only build the PDs to assist his teammate at the position where he can now see the black ground. For some reason, the purple player took this as an invention to also build PDs, while there was absolutely no need for it. When he wanted to build PDs, he could have built them in the middle of his side to protect the whole side, but he built it on the very right, leaving his units totally unprotected. The big bunch of purple units is about to get kited by Tech 2 bots that will return into the coverage of the Tech 2 PD of the grey firebase after they harassed it. The purple bunch of units will be destroyed in about 2 minutes. So the purple firebase can't defend his side and can't attack the enemy player. It's totally useless. Reclaim it and build it somewhere else. The purple player should move his units to the bottom side and attack the base of the grey player, which he can't defend because he only has kiting Tech 2 bots and Tech 2 PD. The teammate of the grey player is doing exactly the right thing by moving around the Tech 2 PD and attacking the purple player from behind. So basically, grey good job, orange good job, purple what the fuck are you? Another thing you should always mind is that people in Supreme Commander normally tend to overestimate themselves. So if your enemy thinks he has to push with Tech 2 PDs only into your base, just save some Tech 2 transport, save some labs, put the labs into the Tech 2 transport or the Tech 1 transports if you don't have the Tech 2 transports, and go for the enemy commander. If the commander is dead, all his PDs are obsolete. So as you can see, in most of the cases you don't even have to fight the Tech 2 PD, but just can work around them. In some situations it might be that you have to fight the Tech 2 PD. In this case, Tech 2 mobile missile launchers are your best friend. Don't care if he starts building TMD. A TMD is more expensive than a TML. So if he builds a TMD, just build another TML. You can always go on like this, and at some point he can have hundreds of TMDs. It just won't be enough against your MNLs. So after his firebase is destroyed, you still have your mobile missile launchers, but he doesn't have anything anymore, and you can just go on pushing and reclaim his base. That's very important. Once you destroy the firebase, you should reclaim it, and from the reclaim you got from that firebase, you should actually build Tech 2 tanks or Tech 3 tanks in order to push forward. The problem many players have with this is the range difference between the mobile missile launchers and the Tech 2 PD is not as big as it seems. So if the enemy has small pushes towards that MMLs, you can always lose them because they only have 650 HP, so they are not very durable. And what you should do against this is, if there is a fortified position really, you should build a shield with like 2 PDs and 2 TMDs, because if he thinks he has to go in with his units and try to destroy your mobile missile launchers, then his units will be obstructed by your PDs and your mobile missile launchers can seek coverage under the shield. Another problem is that the attacking players often don't scout and don't see that there are snipes about to come, or that the enemy player suddenly switched to tanks, and of course if you don't notice that he switched to tanks, then the tanks will probably overrun your MMLs and probably your whole army, and then you have a big problem. So the two important things is to not get scared by TMD. You can beat the TMD mass-wise, that's absolutely no problem. You can also beat shields, that's also no problem. If he starts building Tech 2 artillery, that's really the point where you should think about what to do else. So there is no efficient way to counter a base with Tech 2 PD and artilleries despite just doing something else, for example sniping the commander or making drops or running around. You should remember that Tech 2 artillery is really expensive, so if he can build 2 artilleries, then you should really think about what you're doing wrong, that you can't totally overrun him at other positions. So it's always a calculation. Is it worth to attack that base, or is it worth are these 2 mass extractors worth the effort to attack that base, or can you just fly around and leave that base a base? Nobody cares normally about fire bases, so there might be situations where you have to care about it because there are really bad points, like for example on the map we just saw, they are blocking your base or something like this. But really normally just walk around, and if you have to counter it, don't run in a few units and don't just send some mobile missile launchers and put them somewhere in the land. Just build a shield above them, at least send some mobile shields with them. You can really afford to build them, and you can afford to spam out a Tech 2 engineer and build some TMD next to your MMLs, because if the enemy just has like 2 MMLs and you have 15 but he has a fortified base, your 50 MMLs will probably go down if you don't have any TMD or any shield. So I guess that's pretty much everything. I hope I won't see that much turtle fails in future, because that's really something that hardcore annoys me when I play games, because even if the 1500 plus games, you see so many people failing against this. The games are short, were actually from I think 1500 to 1700, so it's still a problem in high levels, and please try to not fail that hard against turtles. So that's everything for today. I'm signing out, see you in the next video.